Good evening, everybody. Well, 144. 144. Come on, not 2 yet. Oh, man. It's all being exposed. That's what's happening. And so this is good news. If I have to come on at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's good news, right? Because that means there's a lot happening. So, that's just what has to be done in this situation of 6 years of finding these transnational Mexican operatives that have infiltrated our border area. And I know that kind of sounds a little, I don't know, it just because it goes both ways, right? It goes both ways that you have these um, well, I'll explain it. I'll explain it to you. So, let's get busy. I don't want to step on anyone's toes out there, or do I? Or do I? I just after 6 years of this, it's like it gives us great pleasure to expose Bob Moore, for example. It gives us great pleasure to expose Salvador Purchase, doesn't it? It gives us great pleasure to expose Connell Wetton, doesn't it? Because these are very, very evil people, and to expose Alejandro de la Vega Foster and the whole El Paso cartel, along with their alliances with the Sinaloa cartel, the CJNG cartel, the Juarez cartel, and so uh, you know uh, there's no sadness in exposing these people. The sadness is thinking about the blood that's on their hands, the crimes that they've committed, um, and how long it's taken to um, to expose them, so that people will file complaints, because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and the law enforcement and the intelligence community and the justice system, they work for us. And so we have to submit the complaints. And whether you want to be called a whistleblower or a witness or whatever, you have to submit the complaints so that they can work for us. They won't just do it on their own. And that's why this has been taking 6 years, because the investigation, um, we were made the investigators. And so we had to investigate, identify the crime, document the crime, and then file the crime, and do that quite often, very often in 6 years. And so we have gotten the system to work for us, to meaning the people that want justice, the people that want accountability, the people that are sick and tired of the cartel intimidating, bullying, murdering, exploiting, money trafficking, embezzlement, all the, and they don't pay taxes on that. See, that's another thing: tax avoidance, tax cheats. They want all the benefits. They use the roads, they use the ports of entry, they use the rail system, they use our military. They infiltrate the system that the tax payers have paid for, but they don't want to pay for the tax. They don't want to pay the taxes themselves for the infrastructure. They are just very evil people, and they're users and abusers and exploiters, and they're deceivers. And so, we have absolutely identified them, and now their crimes are being exposed. So we have loads tonight for you. So let's get started. We're July 26, 2026, and our sun um, 2,183 days ago, was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, along the southern border, and he was whistleblowing, and the cartel and Mormon mafia had infiltrated into our military, and he whistleblew. He reported it like he was supposed to get the system, the CID, the FBI, the IG, the 911 calls, to Washington, and there was a response. There was uh, audits then. There was investigations, and that's why the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated to divert from those investigations, to divert the law enforcement away from what Richard was reporting, the fuel theft, um, and to focus just on El Paso Strong, right? That's what they said, El Paso Strong, to be shocked with a Walmart mass shooting. And of course, we have uncovered and have hard evidence that it was orchestrated, that the crime scene was staged, and that the very people involved are the elements of the infiltrated cartel and Mormon mafia, and directly linked to those that went after Richard. Okay, and they went after him hard, to first smear him, take away his credibility because he's such a stellar soldier, with being a distinguished honor graduate and promoted so quickly and scoring so high. They had to discredit him before they could take his life, because he was a whistleblower, and they didn't want his whistleblowing reports to get extra strength after they took his life. So that's why they created this operation to smear him, and then they took his life, and they smeared him some more, because the cartel and Mormon mafia, the fuel thieves, these are $1 million operations, these are $1 billion operations, and they spent a lot of money to do it, to take his life, to smear him. They operate even the media, and that we have also exposed with Aldiario Oswaldo Barunda Rodriguez being Juarez cartel operative, and his family member, um, Sylvia Barunda Firth, that sits on the El Paso Community Foundation, that uh, gives money, is the parent company of El Paso Matters. And of course, the CEO of El Paso Community Foundation, Eric Pearson, was a former owner of KTSM, Nexstar, right? Um, that, of course, is connected to Danae Katzen, and those that had Richard's credit cards after his death, fraudsters, and tied to Richard's unit. So, yeah, it was a huge operation, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, um, of this, whatever, all the evidence that we have uncovered. And so, it's even hard to believe by some people until they start looking at the evidence, and then it's just shock and awe, right? It's just shock and awe. And so, so much has been happening because President Trump is absolutely masterful at exposing these criminals, um, and who they are, with Paul Foster, with Marathon Petroleum, and the Watchical the fuel theft that so many arrests have been happening with that, and the watchable fiscal, which is the fuel theft that is of the tax cheaters, right? The fraudulent paperwork. And now we have raids of uh, certain funeral homes, and I think there's going to be more. One in Colorado, we already had one a while back in Colorado, but now we have a new one. And I haven't posted it up yet, but we have a new one, and we have the funeral home in Houston. And these are the one in Houston is really important because it is in Texas, right? It is in Texas. The other two were in Colorado, which many people um, in this Mormon mafia cartel group that went after Richard have big ties in Colorado. So, but they seem to have big ties in Houston too. They seem to have big ties in Houston, and the Houston one is just absolutely horrific, like Plenitude Crematorium. But they had found a bucket full of human organs, and all the places, loads of bodies, and um, you know who knows what's in the urns that they say are human remains. We don't know if they're pulverized um, construction material. All of that is being investigated. What we do know is that there is a lot of insurance fraud. There is a lot of theft of property, theft of the bodies, right? And so we're being corroborated in what we have been saying for over a year with the Plenitude Crematorium case. And that is connected to the Purchase Funeral Home of the transnational Mexican operative Salvador Purchase Jr. What you have to understand about him, and I went back, my original was just that he was a, El Paso cartel, which he is, he just is. But he is a transnational Mexican operative that has infiltrated into the system to gain access to the system. And he is absolutely connected to Arleano Caron's family and the Plenitude Crematorium. But what really is something I want to talk about is that he was appointed in February 17th, to be exact, 2026, to head the funeral, to be on the funeral home commission that oversees the funeral homes in Texas and the crematoriums, which is huge because Texas is so big, right? Texas is so big. Everything's big in Texas, including the amount of funeral homes and crematoriums. And to have a transnational Mexican operative on that commission is like, what? What? And what do I mean by that? Because his funeral home, Purchase Funeral Home, is in Mexico. Okay, it's not, I mean, he has what, 13 of them in Texas, but his primary operation is in Mexico. All right. Um, that's where it all started. And he has contracts in Mexico as well as the contracts with Fort Bliss and El Paso with the veterans' deaths. So, but so there is a huge problem here, right? A huge problem here because he's sitting in Mexico with the 300 to 400 bodies, and because some have been given back, right? That's why because over 400 bodies were discovered, but he's sitting on hundreds of bodies right now that have not been identified. Um, and he was sending bodies to the Plenitude Crematorium. How does that happen? I mean, it's how does he get appointed by Greg Abbott of the governor, the great state of Texas? How does he get appointed by Greg Abbott to oversee funeral homes in Texas when there's a huge problem with his conduct with the Walmart mass shooting victims' bodies, with others, because he has other allegations against him, and this huge operation in Mexico, um, connected to the Plenitude Crematorium. So there's something wrong with Greg Abbott, right? And we know there's something wrong with Greg Abbott. We've been saying there's something wrong with Greg Abbott because he signed the treasonous treaty with Maru Campos, and Maru Campos signed it with him. Okay, so it takes two to tango, right? So all that is coming out, and there's, um, gosh, it's just, uh, it all has to be documented to move forward. So if you're a family that has remains, um, it's time to write letters. If you've been affected by this, the system in the United States needs people to report. And so, and I can tell you right now that that is, our reports have been producing a lot of fruit. Uh, and you see it by what's going on inch by inch by inch by inch, chip by chip by chip by chip, turning off all of the funding, all the businesses, the illicit businesses, okay, the illicit businesses, and exposing uh, all of this, the from the fuel theft, Marathon Petroleum, to the flesh peddling of Plenitude Crematorium, and now in Houston, and of course in El Paso. And that's why you see that this is the vicious negotiations for the repatriation of Richard's remains, of our son's remains. When you have the very perpetrators that are sitting on the commission, or holding the evidence in their freezers, um, yeah, this is why it's a beautiful thing that this is being exposed now, because it is a vicious negotiation for the repatriation of Richard's remains. And I would say many other remains that they're sitting on, many others. So, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I mean, that is huge, and we can talk about why they want these bodies piled up and why they want the organs in, Home Depot buckets. We could be talking about that, but you know already. The blackness of their hearts, and so I'll just leave it at that. Um, the other thing that is very important to talk about is fresh reports coming out that the tunnels that connect Juarez to El Paso and vice versa are now being exposed as these rogue CIA tunnel operations. And that is really important because we know that Maru Campos has a secret payroll of CIA, FBI, ATF, CBP, DPS, these agents working over there in Chihuahua, Mexico on her secret payroll. That these rogue agents, like I would say, um, David Frost, right? The soldier that also is the FBI agent that's also in the Fiscalia. Um, yeah, that these tunnels were absolutely known by this rogue group, that they were using it, and and Connell Wetton absolutely knew, and Greg Abbott absolutely knew. That's not me saying it. Those are the reports that are coming out now, saying that they knew and did not stop it because of Operation Lone Star, all the money that um, Governor Greg Abbott put into Operation Lone Star. And he absolutely knew and had the intel to know, because of his also close agreement, treasonous treaty with Mauro Campos. He absolutely knew where the drugs and the trafficking and all the other nefarious activities, how it was crossing the border. And so he knew about these tunnels and this group, on this secret payroll. Um, you know, the Mormon mafia and rogue intelligence agents on the secret payroll. So that is really big news coming out, because this is the corridor of where they trafficked Richard's body, right? So that is really, really big. The other thing that is coming out that's very important for people to know is that the El Mayo case is not over yet at all, because you see the El Chapos or the Chapitos, the El Chapo's sons, made agreements. Okay, made agreements in order to what they would get in exchange for delivering El Mayo into Connell Wetton's hands. Okay, and those agreements, of course, had to be made by the AUSA, right, which is Jaime Esparza. And those agreements now, um, they're not working out. They're not working out the way the agreements should have worked out, the way Jaime Esparza said they would work out, in order to give the order to illegally kidnap El Mayo. And now you have El Chapo and his two sons, and it is not going as they agreed. This is not going like we agreed. Because El Mayo is not talking. Okay, El Mayo is not talking. He took uh his years, and yeah. Uh so he was supposed to give them information. He was supposed to give them information, and it's just not working out. He's not talking. Miles not talking, and the Chapitos, the El Chapos, with their sons, um, they're not getting what they bargained for. They're not getting what they're bargained for, and President Trump is a new sheriff in town. He's not giving them anything, and really the agreement, if we know them, if we could just say what we think the agreement was for, was to serve their time in Mexico, right? To plead guilty and then get an agreement that they could go into the Mexican prison and serve their time there. Why? Because El Chapo is notorious for escaping the Mexican prisons. Okay, they're notorious for that. So that was and that doesn't look like it's happening. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying it doesn't look like it's happening. Something is not going their way, and I just wanted to bring your attention to that because um, these are not too good of people. These are not too good. They've caused so much bloodshed. They have so much blood on their hands, and such destruction of our economy, um, for all their very violent activities. So that is really what I wanted to cover for tonight. It's huge news. I mean, it's just breaking news, and I hope that you share it with everybody, and talk about all of this, including Salvador Purchase and him, being the infiltrator on the commission for funeral homes in the United States or in Texas. And then, of course, El Chapo's not being too happy with what they're being dealt, that that their deals have been breached. Yeah. I guess they didn't get it in writing, right? And then, of course, the tunnels. The tunnels are now rogue CIA, I would say intelligence operations, the intelligence community, because I want to absolutely confirm that this is CIA, not just CIA, but also FBI and ATF and CBP, and they all knew that those tunnels were there. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.